Today on Hot Thai Kitchen we are making mango and sticky rice. Sawadee-ka! Welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. Today's episode is going to be extra fun because we are remaking the most popular Thai dessert on Hot Thai Kitchen, and that is mango and sticky rice. But this time around, I'm also going to show you how you can still enjoy this dessert even if you can't find any good fresh mango. But first, let's talk about the name of the dessert. Mango and sticky rice in Thai is called khao niao ma muang. Khao means rice, niao is sticky, and ma muang is mango. So that's pretty straightforward. There are 4 components to this dessert. First, we've got the sweet coconut sticky rice. We've got the salted coconut sauce, crispy mung beans, which are going on top, and then finally, of course, mango, our hero. Let's take a look at our ingredients. For the sweet coconut sticky rice, we have 1 cup white sticky rice, often labeled as glutinous white rice or Thai sweet rice, 2/3 of a cup of coconut milk, half a teaspoon of salt, half a cup of sugar. For the salted coconut sauce, half a cup of coconut milk, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of rice flour, and 1 tablespoon of water. Apart from that, you'll also need 2 tablespoons of mung beans and, of course, our mango. Let's first deal with our rice. We have to soak the rice, but before we soak it, we have to give it a really good washing. So I've got my rice here, and I'm gonna wash it in cold water. Just kind of be vigorous with it. And then you can see how cloudy the water is getting now. And that's basically the excess starch that we're trying to get rid of. So we're gonna pour this off and then repeat until the water runs clear, which is gonna be about 5 times. Now you might be wondering, why are we washing the rice so obsessively? And the reason is that, think of these excess starch as loose flour just hanging out around the grains. When we go to pour the syrup into our rice, which is what we're gonna do, it's gonna kind of gum up the rice a little bit, which is not a desired characteristics of sticky rice for this dish. We're not trying to make creamy rice pudding or risotto, in which case this starch is exactly what we need, but we want to macerate the rice, inoculate it with sweet syrup while still maintaining individual integrity of the rice. So that's why we want to get rid of as much of this stuff as possible. See if I'm right. There. See how much clearer it is? You can see my hand through the water, and that's kind of what you're going for. And then we're gonna let this soak in cold water for at least 4 hours or up to overnight. I like to do it just overnight, just then I don't have to worry about it. And then we'll come back when that's done. So the rice has been soaking now for overnight. I did this yesterday. And then we're just gonna drain it. Very simply, just drain it, but you wanna make sure you are not too aggressive with the rice at this point, because once the rice has been soaked, it's very brittle. If you're too hard on it, the grains will actually break quite easily. Just want to make sure you drain it off really well. So you want to shake it a couple of times, because if you've got too much residual water, when you go to steam it, especially on a steamer rack type thing, the residual water will make its way down to the bottom and get trapped and then make the bottom layer of the rice mushy. So you want to make sure it's all gone. I usually just leave this sitting while I'm doing other things to get it ready. So let's talk about steaming apparatus. For me, I'm going to use this traditional bamboo cone steamer, but you can also use other kinds of steamer, like this one right here. And this is massive, but you can use some rice cookers, come also with a steamer rack insert. Anything that'll steam will do. And what you need, basically, is to line, because the holes are big and the rice will go through if you don't put anything on it. Line the rack. We just use a muslin. I just bought this muslin and sewed the edges. And then put the rice in the middle. Fold the edges over so that when you're done, when the rice is done, you can just grab this and lift the whole thing out. Now, this is important. If your steamer is small, don't put the rice over the entire rack. Make sure you've got some room around the edges. Otherwise, you'll trap the steam. If you leave some room, the steam can come up and cook the rice or surround the rice so it will cook more evenly. Okay, so just be aware of that. So my water's boiling now, and I'm gonna steam my rice over rapidly boiling water for 30 minutes. Because I'm using the bamboo cone steamer, halfway through I'm gonna come and flip it But if you're using just a steamer rack, just leave it 25 to 30 minutes. Just leave it all the way through. You'll be fine. So let's quickly make the coconut syrup for our rice to macerate in, and it's really pretty darn simple. So in a pot, just gonna combine our coconut milk, some sugar, half a teaspoon of salt. Now don't stir this for any length of time. Don't reduce it or anything. As soon as the sugar is dissolved, and that's done, because you want to preserve the total amount of liquid so our rice has enough liquid to absorb, or it'll be too dry. Oh, and you also want to make sure that this is done before the rice is finished, because as soon as the rice is done, you need to use this right away. I'm pretty much all dissolved now, so I'm just gonna turn it off, and then I'm gonna put a lid on it to keep it warm, so when I'm ready to use it, it hasn't gone cold. So the sweet and salty combination is becoming quite trendy lately. We've got, salted caramel and bacon and chocolate and all sorts of things. Well, Thai people have been doing the sweet and salty thing for quite some time now. And a lot of times the salty component is just a simple salted coconut sauce, and that is what we're gonna make right now. So I've got half a cup of coconut here, and I'm gonna thicken it using some rice flour, and it's just a teaspoon of rice flour, and I'm going to add some water and just dissolve it just until there's no more clumps. And if you need to add, if you want to make it a little thicker later, you add more starch. You want to dissolve it in more water again. Never add dry starch to hot liquid. Okay, so now I'm going to pour that in. So I've got just a quarter teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to bring that to a boil just until the liquid starts bubbling. And all we're trying to do is bring the rice flour to the temperature where it can reach its maximum thickening power. And if your mixture is already bubbling, you know that you're there. And you want to stir it all the time, because starch has a tendency to settle at the bottom when the mixture is still cold. Now my bubbles are up, and you can see that my rice flour has thickened a little bit. If you want, you can make it thicker, but it'll thicken a little bit more as it cools down. I don't like the sauce to be too thick, but you don't want it completely thin that it just kind of bleh all over the place when you put it on. So my rice just finished, and then I'm gonna bloop directly into the bowl, and then immediately I'm going to pour my syrup over, and I'm gonna give it a good stir. Now I know it looks soupy now, but give it a minute, and then, well, not a minute, 40 minutes to be exact, and all the liquid will be absorbed into the rice. You want to stir and make sure there's no clumps of rice that will prevent absorption. Okay, and then working quickly, I'm gonna cover it with foil, top it off with something heavy, and we'll let this sit for 20 minutes, during which time the rice is going to absorb all the liquid and become plump and sweet and scrumptious, and then the coconut oil in the coconut milk will coat the rice, making it smooth and silky. It's gonna be very good. Now you may have noticed that I worked pretty quickly because I want to make sure this mixture stays hot, because if it's cold, the rice won't absorb the liquid quite as well. So as soon as the rice is done, work on this right away. Make sure your syrup is still warm. It doesn't have to be piping hot, but it shouldn't be cold. If you made the syrup ahead of time, you can heat it up a little bit, and then you want to, protect it a little bit from heat loss. If you're making a lot of rice, it's not as big of an issue because a large amount of rice stays hot for a long time, but if you're only making a small amount, it cools down fast. So you want to help it along whenever you can. So let this sit for 20 minutes, and then we're going to come back and give it a stir. And 20 minutes later, we are going to flip our rice over. So I've got this rice. See how it's gotten, all the liquid has mostly been absorbed. We're gonna give it a stir. So I'm just gonna do it kind of like a folding motion where I fold the bottom up, because what we're trying to do is get all the rice that was earlier at the bottom to come on top. Cover it for another 20 minutes or so. So at this point, it's ready to, after 20 minutes, it'll be ready to eat. So if you do this ahead of time, just leave it until you're ready to serve. This will last at room temperature pretty much all day. If you're gonna serve it tomorrow, you wanna put it in the fridge, but if you make this in the morning, and you wanna serve it in the evening, just leave it there, it'll be just fine. At this point, I want to talk about the last and final component of the dessert, the crispy toasted mung beans. Now, these are mung beans. They are green on the outside and yellow on the inside, and these have been shelled and split. And basically, they're going to add a nice crunch element to the dessert. It's optional. Some people don't put them on, but I think because the rice is soft and the mango is soft, adding the crunchy stuff on top gives a nice textural variety. So I like to add them. And basically all you have to do is cook them and then toast them. You can cook the beans. There's many ways to cook these beans. So I'm going to share with you the way that I think is easiest and gives the most consistent results. Rinse the beans a couple of times and cover it with 2 cups of cold water. Let the beans slowly come to a boil over medium heat. We want to use gradual heat so we have even doneness all throughout the beans. As soon as the water comes to a boil, remove from heat, cover, and let them sit in this hot water for another 10 minutes. Pour off the cooking water and rinse off the excess starch with cold water. This will prevent the beans from sticking to the pan when they toast. Let them dry off a bit. To toast the beans, add them to a lightly greased sauté pan and toast them over medium-high heat. In the beginning, they're going to be soft, so be gentle with them when you stir. Once they turn slightly golden brown, they are done. This should take about 7 to 8 minutes. Spread them out while they're cooling so they don't trap any steam, and there is your crunchy munchy mung beans. And it's eating time! Well, almost. So I've got my mango here all cut up into thin pieces. Now you've seen me done this before in the previous video, and I just think it's a nice decorative way to present the mango. You can cut it into bite-sized pieces if you want, but if you do them thinly, you can then go and play with it into all sorts of ways, and you can be artistic and then fill a large plate with a small amount of food and make it look all fancy and all that stuff. Okay, so we've got that, and then we've got our rice so that it sort of... Oh, I should show you what the rice looks like in the end. Just like that. Okay, so there's no more sort of soupy bits. It's all come together. I'm rushing this a little bit. It could sit a little bit longer, but that's okay. Our coconut sauce, salted coconut sauce, is going on top. Ooh. And then our mung beans going on top. How cute is that? Now, that is a dessert to impress. However, I did say in the beginning that if you don't have any good fresh mango, you can still enjoy this dish. And here's how. You can also use frozen mango. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but frozen mango is all soft and mushy when you thaw it. And it is, and if I served sticky rice with thawed frozen mango, it wouldn't be very appetizing. But if I said, I'm gonna serve you sweet sticky rice with a mango compote. Aha! That doesn't look so bad now, does it? This one I made using frozen mango, and it looks beautiful, and it's just as delicious. And food is all about expectation, right? If you tell people that you're serving a mango compote, all of a sudden wet and mushy is exactly what they're supposed to be. So let me just run through quickly how I arrived at this. Cut the mango into nice cubes and let them thaw. Make a syrup from water and palm sugar. How sweet it needs to be depends on how sweet your mango is. If your mango is on the sour side, add a pinch of salt. My mango strangely lacked acidity, so I added a bit of lime. Let it marinate for half an hour in the fridge. When ready to serve, stir in some chopped mint. Serve the mango without the extra syrup in a pretty glassware. And that's it! Look how cute is that! So that's all I've got for you today, mango and sticky rice, or khao niao ma muang. For the recipe, written recipe, you can visit hotthaikitchen.com. If you enjoy the show, please click to subscribe, and I will see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal.